Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, scheduling permitted, to address whatever topics you might like to discuss, whatever issues of life you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. We are here for you to discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships. Whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind, God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that is why we are here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, brought to you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, scheduling permitted, by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer, where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is Earth's finest water. I want to say to those of you who continue giving on the Give segment of our app to support the broadcast at New Life Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to donate on our contribution page on our website at newlifeministriesinternational.com. We don't ever want to take you for granted. I want to say thank you for your continued support and your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here to address whatever topics you might like to discuss and whatever issues of life you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. And so I want to say to everyone, as we go into in our particular region in the Northeast, as we go into the spring season, it's starting to get a little warmer. Not today, but it's getting warmer this week. So let's make certain that we get out, get some exercise, do the things that we can do even in the midst of the pandemic to enhance our health and wellness. I want to encourage everyone. Hopefully I'll see some of you that are runners out on the road, because I'm a runner. And those of you who are walkers, I'll pass by and wave. And those of you who are just out riding your bikes, whatever it takes to get some exercise, let's try to do that this week. I don't know if it's going to get cooler again, but we are coming into a warmer season. And for those of you who live in a warm climate year round, God bless you, and keep doing what you can do to get out, enjoy the outdoors, enjoy nature. Get some exercise and make certain that we enhance our health and wellness. We want that for all of us. And for eating habits, I'm going to encourage everyone to go to the website of our licensed and registered dietitian, Rebecca Buva. BeccaTheDietitian.com is her website. And you can find some tips that will help to enhance your health and wellness. And you can become a client of Rebecca Buva, Becca the Dietitian, at BeccaTheDietitian.com. She takes insurances, she takes Blue Cross and Blue Shield, she takes Blue Cross Highmark Blue Cross, I should say. She takes Aetna, she takes Medicare. You can become a client of Rebecca Buva, who will be with us the first Thursday of every month, as always. BeccaTheDietitian.com. I really want everyone to really enhance our health and wellness as we go into the spring season of this year. I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have been contemplating starting a new business with a friend. And you want to know, will your business be a success? Will it be successful? So let me begin by addressing a couple of components here. One is you want to go into business. You want to start a new business. Okay. The other is you want to start a new business with a friend. So I'm going to tell you what that's going to look like in order for your business to be a success. See, we have to first identify what success looks like. And what I'm going to tell you is this. You have to make certain that you're going into business for the right reasons. And if you're going to have a business partner, you have to make certain that they're going into business for the right reasons. And so I'm going to explain to you what that looks like. And this is for all of our listeners and viewers who may desire to go into business and may desire to go into business with someone else. So the first thing you have to make sure is that you're going, when I say going into business for the right reason, that you're offering something, goods and services, to the public that will enhance the quality of their life. That's first and foremost. It has to to address a need. And you have to say to yourself, and listen, I understand that there are luxury companies that don't necessarily provide a need, don't necessarily produce a product or sell a product that services a need. It may service a want. However, wants can sometimes be something that is needed. For example, you might not need a new car. You may want a new car. But at some point, you're going to need a car. So, for transportation. So the point is, we have to identify what the needs are of the public. We also have to identify maybe what the wants are, but what could be needed eventually. But your goods and service have to address the public. They have to be able to address a need for the masses. That's the first thing. Once you've identified that, your goods or your services have met that criteria, the next thing you have to be sure of is that you're going into business not because you want more free time for yourself, because if you're going to be a successful business owner, that immediately thought should go out the window. It's not about you having more time for yourself, more flexibility, more freedom, for lack of a better term. You have to make certain that you're going into business, first of all, to provide a good and service that is needed for the masses. And then you have to make certain that you are willing to go into business to serve not only the public, but then your employees. And the reason is because there are going to be people depending on you to get out of bed every day. This isn't about you. It's not about whether or not you are going to be able to take time off and go to the beach. It's not going to be about whether or not you can take time off to travel the world. The income that you save and preserve, the revenue that you save and preserve will allow you to do more when you have the opportunity to have time off. But you can't go into business with the idea that because I'm no longer working for myself, I don't have to be accountable for my time. I'll have more flexibility and I can travel when I want to. I'm here to tell you today, even though you're thinking about taking on a partner because you and your partner think that's going to give you a little more flexibility, you've got to eradicate that from your mind. You've got good products and service, but you've got to eradicate from your mind that this is all about the two of you having the opportunity to have a little flexibility and you can cover for one another, because that's not what this is about. This is about you making a decision that you are willing to get out of bed every day and to build a company that is going to allow your employees to have a better quality of life. That your employees are depending on you every day to operate a company that is going to allow them to pay their mortgages, it's going to allow them to pay their car notes, it's going to allow them to send their children to good schools, it's going to allow them to do the things that they desire to do so that they can enjoy their lives. So you might say, well, Pastor, why am I concerned about them enjoying their lives and I'm not going to have the flexibility that I would want or the time that I will want to travel? The reality is, if you don't take good care of your employees, your business is going to suffer And because your business is going to suffer, you're not going to be able to do those things that you desire to do anyway. You want your employees to become, first of all, you want to be the best version of yourself that you can become. And then you want to be the best version, you want to make certain that your employees become the best version of themselves that they can become. You develop them so that they can make your company stronger. And then as your company grows and develops to be sustainable long term, then you can enjoy some of the rewards of your efforts. But going into business is not about any of that. So you have to make certain that you're going into business for the right reasons. And then when you're taking on a business partner, here's what you've got to really examine. Does your business partner have the right state of mind about going into business? Or is it just that because there's two of you, you think you can cover for one another? Because that's not what you need as a business partner. So you really have to know your business partner's personality. You need to know their mental wellness. You need to know that they're going to be the best partner that you could have. You need to know their personality, their state of mind, and you need to know their willingness to put in the same commitment that you're putting in for your employees. And then after you do all of that, you still have to examine the fact, is this someone that I can build a business with long term? Are we going into business together for the right reasons? Do they have the gifts and talents that I do not have? Or do they have gifts and talents that are stronger? Do they have strengths that are stronger than my strengths? Do they have weaknesses that I can cover, and can they cover my weaknesses? Can we both seek out great opportunities? So you're doing a SWOT analysis when you decide to select a business partner. And what are the threats that might become an issue in our partnership? Those are all things that you're going to have to think about, sort out, analyze, and determine if it's a good fit. Not just because they're your friend and you can trust them. That's another factor, but that's part of the personalities. So it really cannot be about, can I trust this person? It is going to be that in the end, but that's so far down the line, because if you're considering a business partner, you can only know you can trust them by their personality traits. Because you don't know what they're going to do when the business becomes a success. You don't know the commitment that they're willing to make to the company. All you may know is the commitment they're willing to make to themselves. So we've got to really analyze all of this. Now, if you determine that all of that criteria can be met, then you may have the right business partner. And that's for all of our listeners and viewers. I'm going to say this to you. I don't recommend, because God allowed me to see in that secret place of your lives, I don't recommend that the two of you go into business together. And the reason is because God has shown me the personalities. God didn't say do it or not do it. What he did show me was in that secret place of your lives, the personalities. So, sometimes there's your free will, there's God's permissive will, and then there's God's perfect will. I'm only going to tell you today, this isn't God's perfect will. It's his permissive will, because you both have the capital to go into business and you both have the desire to go into business. What I would recommend to the two of you is that you don't take a partnership together, and that you decide for yourselves the direction you want to go moving forward in your professional and business lives. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, nor have you been for the previous 90 days, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will place you into our queue and you will become a T-Mobile customer, America's largest and fastest 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill. And if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have been dating someone who is very older, who's very well established. However, he does not want to get married and you are now ready to get married. And you want to know what can you do to get him to marry you. So the response to that is this. Your decision to date was not for purpose. It was for companionship. It was for financial security. It was for you to have, for lack of a better term, some fun because he could afford to do the things with you that you desire to do. So that's a blessing in itself. However, when you went into this, you went in understanding that he did not want to get married. So there isn't anything you can do to get him to marry you. He's not going to marry you, and here's a newsflash. He's not going to marry anyone else. What he's going to look for the remainder of his life, if you decide to go your own way, is companionship. He's going to always be content with companionship. That means when you're with him, you're with him. When you're not, you're not. And the reason is because he is at a point in his life where he does not want to be accountable to someone else. Now, that's real interesting because, you know, when you went into this, he does not have the same relationship with the Lord that you have. He has a relationship in knowing who God is and knowing who Jesus is. But that's not a relationship. That's religion. Doesn't go to church. You thought you could change that. Doesn't have the same relationship with the Lord that you have, and even your relationship is lacking. The problem is, now you're ready to get married, so I welcome you to the broadcast because someone directed you to the broadcast to ask your question. I can only give you what God has spoken, and that is, he's not going to marry you or anyone else. If you're content with that, that's what you can expect. Obviously, you're no longer content because you want to be married. And the reason you want to be married now is because he is older, not going anywhere right now, not old enough that he's about to die off. God willing, he'll continue to live, not, by God's mercy. But you want to get married now because you recognize that he can provide you the financial security that you want long term. You realize that he's been blessed in spite of his lacking relationship with the Lord. And the reason is because God knows that someday he'll give his life to the Lord. He'll accept Jesus as his Lord and Savior. Now, listen to this. Sometimes, a man can be saved by the woman in his life, meaning if you have a relationship with the Lord, a real relationship, and you are married to someone who doesn't have the same relationship, sometimes because of your relationship, they'll develop a relationship. But that's not who he is. He is someone whom, when the Lord is about to call him home, he'll be the one who will confess Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. But the Lord knows he will be saved. But the question you have to ask yourself is, are you willing to gain the world and not improve your soul, not enhance your soul? Be with someone who doesn't want to be married, but on his deathbed will cry out unto the Lord. You know, these are things we don't often think about because nobody wants to talk about death. But your motivation for wanting to get married is no different than the motivation the two of you had when you started the relationship. And so what I will recommend to you is, if you are going to stay in this relationship, because now you're concerned you're going to have to start all over again. If you decide you're going to stay in this relationship, you need to know that for the two of you, this is as good as it gets. And the reason is because he thinks life is so good for him right now, he's not going to call upon the Lord until the Lord is about to call him home. And because of that, life's not going to get any better. There's no new level. There's no next level. This is the level that the two of you will be on for the rest of your days. Now, if you remain. Nice level, but it's not the fullness of God. Nice house, nice car, but it's not the fullness of God. There's no spiritual wealth. And just a good life, not, anything that you are going to write home about, in the sense, well, maybe that's not true, but in the sense of wanting the greatest quality of life you can have. Right now, what you have is you're having a relationship with an established man who has the trappings of the world, but not the fullness of God. What I would suggest to you is what God has spoken to me, and that is, if you really want the fullness of God in your life, you can love him from a distance, but you really need to move on to what God has for you instead of what you want for yourself. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Terrett, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, check their store hours, stop in at their retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need. They have shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. If you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Terrett at ctshirts.com. They will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And The White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York, and they have a store in the Short Hills Mall in Short Hills, New Jersey. So if you're in either of those areas, stop in at the retail stores. They have everything they have everything that you could possibly need. They have home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. If you're not in any of those areas, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have friends who thrive on conflict. However, that is not the way you choose to live your life any longer. You want to know, how do you avoid the conflict? And so I'm going to say this to you. They are your friends because you've known them a long time, but they're not good friends. If they are driven by conflict, they are not good friends, because sooner or later you will become involved in the conflict. We all have to want much better for our lives. We all have to get to a place where we make a decision that we want the best God has to offer for each of our lives. The best that God has to offer. And can you imagine just how good that really is? When you really get to the next level of the best that God has to offer you, how much better could it possibly become? Because God already has a plan established for you, and it's of good and not of evil. It is an expected end. God has an expectation for your life. What I've learned over time is that the expectation that God has for each of us is based on our measure of faith. Do we really believe that God will do in our lives what he has said he will do? Do we believe that God will exceed abundantly above all that we can ask or are capable of thinking? Do we really believe that everything that God, every blessing that God has written in his word shall come to pass because we seek and search for the goodness of God, because we seek and search for the fullness of God? And in the fullness of God lies all things. In the fullness of God lies every purpose that he has appointed for our lives. And when you have friends who are living and thriving in conflict, they're not living and thriving through the word of God, because God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. He is not the author of confusion. We are the authors. Man is the author of confusion, used by the enemy to cause confusion. Confusion is not of God. Confusion is of man. God is a God of peace. And what we should want in every one of our lives is to have peace, peace that surpasses all understanding, and perfect peace. That covers every component of peace that we could possibly imagine. And that's what we should be living for and seeking for every day of our lives. If your friends, the friends that you currently have, are thriving in conflict, thrive on conflict, you need to separate yourself from the conflict and find yourself some friends who live to seek peace. You can love them because you've known them for a long time. You can love them, but you're going to need to love them from afar, because if you do not, you will not have peace. And what we want in all of our lives is the perfect peace of God. We want God's way and God's will for our lives. 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, is brought to you every day by Fiji